Avatar is a franchise about aliens and the environment, and sometimes they play basketball, I guess. Up until a few weeks ago, the Avatar franchise was kind of a big fat dumb joke. Pretty much everybody agreed that the film about humans cosplaying as 7-foot-tall blue people was kind of the weirdest thing they've ever seen ever, and the fact that it was the highest grossing movie despite zero cultural relevance or impact was confusing as it was frustrating, especially when Endgame overtook it and then they put it back in theaters just to be #1 again. James Cameron, I see you, you slick dog. And I was one of the many people who, when we found out he wasn't just making a sequel to this film, he was making like 20 sequels, I chuckled out loud. We all laughed and mocked, and then one day, quietly, he was like, oh, this shit's done. We're about to drop this in theaters in like a few months. Are you guys doing anything? And then things escalated even further when we found out that in order for this film to make back its budget, it had to make a few billion. And yeah, they did it once before, but that was 2009. That was like the recession. Now we have Marvel movies. Those are the ones that make money, you dumb idiot. All of a sudden we had this film, part of a franchise with zero pop culture relevance, doing a theatrical only release 14 years after the original, in a post-COVID world, having to make back billions of dollars. And it was a sequel about weird blue people with sex tales. Even the title, Way of Water, was such a crazy move to me because they had the guts to go with anything besides Avatar 2. I felt like the whole world was pranking me, or the simulation was breaking. Maybe there is a Matrix. After all, maybe I'm not red-pilled enough, I don't know. And then the film came out. I think we all know what happened after that. You've all seen the headlines. This film's an incredible masterpiece, and then it started making money, like a lot of money. Most of the money it needed to make in like less than a month. I feel like I need to be put in a straitjacket. This whole long intro is me basically explaining that I had to figure out what was going on here. So I did a deep dive into this franchise, and I discovered some things. Behind the surface of this film that famously had no cultural impact or a fan base, actually kind of really does. And this weird 2009 film about blue people actually resonated with a lot more people than I thought, creating an entire online community, complete with their own language that's real, like they actually made it. All of a sudden, my dumb ADHD brain was watching 10-hour lore breakdowns of Na'vi biology, and I realized that this wasn't just some weird movie, it's an entire alternate world that's been painstakingly created since 1995. It's all too interesting not to share. So join me as I explore. I hope my kids don't have access to YouTube. I hope they never see this. So contrary to popular belief, the Avatar fandom is real. They exist, and they've been around since 2009, patiently waiting and supporting this franchise in the shadows. So basically, when James Cameron was like making this movie, he had a really big budget because he always had box office successes. So the development of Avatar is one of the most interesting deep dives you could do. Like the amount of money he had that he could just dump into this strange idea that almost exclusively he cared about. Like for instance, he made an entire fake soundtrack that like was generated on the idea of alien music, and then it just sounded too weird, so he scrapped it. There's a great video essay about this, definitely check it out. That also included actually hiring a professional linguistic professor to develop a full alien language that you could actually learn and speak. I first came across Dr. Paul Frommer when googling tutorials and how to learn this language, and don't worry, there's a lot of resources. I could go on forever about all of these learning Na'vi videos. They're really interesting, and a lot of them, like the real gems, are from like 2010, so it's so weird to see like 2010 YouTube.
Welcome to my first tutorial of the Na'vi language.
And yeah, he's probably the greatest resource for jumping into this, I guess. He does like a 10-part series where he literally painstakingly explains this language.
So in uh-oh, that break is in Lakasap. It's really important.
And the language itself is mad interesting. Like he really thought about mouth sounds, how a language would develop. I don't understand all of it, but I understand a little bit. Like these little dashes are actually a noise, like they actually serve a purpose. They're not just accents. Crazy stuff. Look, I really want to sit here and tell you that I learned this language for the video because I want to be a real one like that, but like I realized I was putting in the effort to learn a language, and if I was going to do that, might as well just learn like an earth language, like French or something. I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but for me, it would be a waste of time. I also found an app that's like the Na'vi dictionary, and yeah, it looks like it was made for like the iPhone 4, but that was a good enough resource for me. Frommer actually collaborates with the Avatar community, having people send in words and their ideas for words and building a language together. Again, wholesome and incredibly interesting. I thought nobody cared about this franchise. I discovered this guy who tells entire stories in Na'vi. The final straw was when I found out that like there's also an entire section of this language that's sign language, which was made because it would just make sense for the Na'vi to speak sign language because they're always in the forest and underwater. I can't learn a fake sign language when there's real sign language. I would just feel like an asshole. Shout out to CJ Jones. He's the man behind this whole thing. He's incredible, just as incredible as Frommer. But to go back to what I said before, he does collaborate with the Avatar community, and that made me wonder, Avatar community? You mean like the wiki? Like there's nothing here. This is the best part of the video. This is the best part of the video. So the forum is called like Learn Na'vi, and I think that it's kind of meant to be like an introduction to learning the language. It makes sense because that's like the biggest thing that would probably attract everybody. But the Learn Na'vi fan forum, it's an Avatar fan board, pretty much. And this thing is a treasure trove. This didn't just come out for the second movie. This has been around since 2009, meaning there's a lot to look through, and I looked through it. I was obsessed. Some of my favorite posts were like getting hyped and predicting the release date of the second movie. Some people saying like 2017. No. Still, as I scoured these boards, I realized that this community were some of the kindest and warmest people I've ever seen. My favorite post, titled "A Sad Farewell," goes a little like this. It is with great sadness that I find myself in this position, but events in RL, real life, have meant that for some time now, I have been less than active here than I would like. What has happened this last 24 hours mean that for the foreseeable future, I will be stepping away from the forum. The last 9 years have been a crazy ride. I've loved every moment of it. I'm going to miss you all so much more than you know. And then some Na'vi, because of course. Please don't go from the forum. All of us need you. You made Avatar. Emojis, oh my god. I don't want that here. Do not be members. I want to be members here. Please stay here. Please. And then some Na'vi I'm not even gonna pretend to pronounce. Me and other people need you. Just now, I'm crying because of all of you. You makes me had fun, even if I don't know you well. Please don't go from this forum. I hope it's an April Fool's Day joke. I confess it was. Forget whatever James Cameron has planned for the next movie. This is the movie. This is what you need to focus on. From there, I couldn't look away, and I basically explored every section of this forum, which, believe it or not, is not exclusively about learning the Na'vi language after all. My favorite by far was the classified section. Yes, there was a classified section. Mostly posts about people trying to sell their Na'vi costumes, which, god, that looks like a sex thing. Little segue, for as big as this franchise is, there's no merch that isn't a little bit terrifying because even though I love these movies, I will say, yeah, it always looks weird. Like there's Lego sets, which that's dope. But anytime there's a costume or something prosthetic, kind of looks like this or this. Guess for $200, I could buy one of these costumes on Etsy, which looks like the stuff of nightmares. But if you dig deeper, you'll find there's a lot more on this forum. Some of my favorite posts being "If It Were Real," where there's like a pretty nuanced and like intelligent discussion on what Avatar would be like if it existed. I myself would love to live there, probably as an avatar, but with being in a relatively close contact with the natives. Yes, indeed. It's one of the most serious discussions I've ever seen on the subject. It's just great. Speaking of real, the craziest one I found by far was this board titled "Real Life Na'vi Tribe," and it's exactly what you think it is. It is a community of people trying to build a real-life Na'vi tribe. Like they're trying to organize this in the real world. Live off the land, Na'vi style, for a summer or for the rest of your life. There's so many posts on this board, I don't even know where to start. Guns, yes or no? Looks like no one. That discussion, but by a thin margin. But bows and crossbows are the same, aren't they? Sorry, but if you want to join a tribe that goes back to basics, but you want to bring along guns, you're doing it wrong. They actually got pretty far trying to raise money and discussing how to get the government to recognize their land. Unfortunately, as we all know, there is no real-life Na'vi tribe. The last post being titled "Pull the Plug?" and it looks like they all but gave up, chalking it up to a, quote, hopeless dream due to the circumstances of our current world. Maybe one day though, I don't know. One of my favorites had to be this one that was just titled "Bible." Their goal basically to translate the entire Bible into Na'vi, which makes me wonder what this community really would have been like. They also get into debates over what to call God. There's also an actual Avatar convention that's been meeting pretty regularly every few years. It doesn't look like a lot, but maybe it'll change this year. The dedication's kind of crazy. This community basically being built on the first movie in 2009 and then the eventual hope of a sequel. I would say the diamond of this entire deep dive was this video I found from a group called the Home Tree of Wisconsin. Basically a group of real-life Avatar LARPers. They meet up in the woods, they make their own little home tree, they dress up, the costumes are incredibly detailed.
I feel comfortable like this. I feel like this is my real skin.
This is one of the greatest videos I've ever seen. I will link it down below. please check it out. For the sake of transparency, I'm 99% sure that this is like a comedy bit. I've already found enough weird stuff that's real anyways, so this definitely was a wild ride and a learning experience, to say the least. But the whole point of this video, the thing that I really want to speculate on, is this is one of the highest grossing franchises. I think this is going to be the second highest grossing movie of all time by the time this is all said and done. This franchise has made more than a lot of Star Wars movies, a lot of Harry Potter movies. So the thing I can't figure out is why, after all of this financial success, after pretty much everybody has seen this, why does the fandom still feel like this weird fringe culture? Is this some curse that James Cameron has? Like, I don't understand. And I'm looking a lot online to see if there's like a new Avatar fandom sprouting. I think there is a little, like I'm seeing fan art and like some weird fan cams of the characters, which I don't buy. I think this is like the studio doing guerrilla marketing. Nobody's making these fan cams. And as weird as this felt for me to get this into it, to do this much research, I want you to carry that over and think about James Cameron for a second. Pretty much the last 2 decades of his entire life have been dedicated to this, and he's gonna keep being dedicated to this for at least the next decade and a half. This might be the last thing James Cameron ever does. Can you imagine what it's like in his head? I don't know what to make of this. I really don't. I don't have a really profound conclusion. Isn't this interesting? Am I crazy? But I do know one thing. This is one of the sweetest, sincere, and most supportive communities I've ever seen. And this is a big reason of why I still love the internet after all this time. Not for all of the big, disgusting stuff, but the small little subsets of lovable weirdos that all come together around something cool. And I can say whatever I want, but by all means, James Cameron won. Like, he should be doing victory laps right now. They're gonna make all of these movies. Like, there's no stopping at this point. Maybe by the time that they're all wrapped up, the culture will catch up and this will be like the Star Wars of our generation. I really have no idea. I think the general public just has to see these as something more than just like the novelty of how good they look. And I hope they do that because I'm hooked in. In the meantime, I think I found a bunch of new friends. That being said, guys, that's all I have, really. Let me know what you think about Avatar down below. Also, like and subscribe if you can. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Peace.